So guys, welcome back to another deck profile. This time with Bastion. Again, yeah, another Bastion deck profile, but this time hopefully it'll be in time for your set 3 release, which is coming out this week actually, in the English side of things. So apart from a few delays in here, let's discuss one of the most popular builds for Keter Century Bastion that's been reading out for the last few months. So if you've been anywhere in the internet, you've probably seen discussions of this card, Lagrele, which is one of the most controversial cards for Bastion, as it's proven to be a very useful card for ending games, but it's also one of the most risky cards in the whole entire overdress. To explain, let's get and go through its skills. So what this card is the English name is Heavenly Shock of Distinction, Lagrele. So what it does is, when it attacks a Vanguard on the regular cycle, counter blast 2, this card gains Twin Drive for the battle, basically because it already has a Twin Drive icon, so it's checking 2 times. Then, you can choose any number of ray cards and rest them. Then, at the end of battle that you attack, you discard number of cards based on how many cards you rest. So if you rest at least 2, you only discard 3, so it's a -1. If you rest 4, you don't discard anything. And if you discard, basically, if you rested 1 or less, basically no difference, you will discard 5 cards from your hand, which is a -3. So yeah, from that alone, that should ring some bells. As we know, some of Bastion's key cards in the format is of course Great Heavenly Sword Elden, which is a counter blast 2 cost, and a card we recently added from the last set for most builds was Format or Chosen Knights, which is one of the most powerful order cards, which also requires a counter blast. So with all these counter blasts in the deck, it's natural to see why Lagrele might not seem worth it, especially if you can choose to use Elden or Lagrele in the same turn. So this build will then focus on using Lagrele to its maximum capabilities, and by making use of his Twin Drive ability to try to end the game as early as possible. So why would you want to do this? Like, Bastion didn't have a problem playing a long game at all, right? Besides maybe the one overdress matchup. Well, that's the thing. In set 2 metagame, certainly, but set 3, Bruce has a new card called Derek, which has a lot of ability to retire your opponent's field for every force they have. There are decks like Meteor, which will retire your field for every Meteor they go to drop zone. There's also Flagbird Dragon, the Aquaforce looking thing, which should also retire your board. So playing such a long game with the Dark Terrain columns may not be as appealing. I still think it's still viable, but this is definitely an approach we should really look at. So this build was actually popularized but in the Japanese side of things. If I can find a blog, I'll link it below in the description. So shout out to him, I'm not sure. Yeah. So the key cards for the decks, of course, Lagrele, the staple 2 cards, and one of the cards I would highlight is this card, which is Divine Sister Fakiata. So what Fakiata does is, on the regular cycle, once per turn, when your draw check reveals a trigger, basically either of these draw checks, you can soul blast 2 to contrast 1. So this is essentially the way you manage your counter blast now. As getting Soul and Bastion isn't that hard, especially with the additions you'll see later. But with this, you can actually possibly use an Elden, get a contrast in the middle phase, and use Struggle during the same turn. Or basically, form out Chosen Knights and use Elden, and just contrast back for the next turn. So in general, it's a very, very flexible card, and this is one of the reasons why this deck can exist. So with that, let's get to the deck. Now, on to the actual deck profile. So we start with the 3 personal rights, which is our main way to end games besides our Lagrele plays, and it's just a generally powerful play. Then we also play 3 from our old Chosen Knights. While the Counter Blast on Soba scores can be hefty, we can use it in times where we do not have Counter Blast enough for Lagrele, or we do not open an Elden in hand. So this card actually helps us gain advantage regardless. And I recommend still playing 3, as I tried the deck without it and it's rather inconsistent. Then, we also play in the 4 Knight of Heavenly Bow Lepharos. So this card is a triple from the last set. So what it does is, yeah, when you person right this turn, this card gets boost. So it becomes a 15k booster during your Bastion turn. And the second skill, once per turn, when your Ray Guard resends, resend it in the from the back row. So basically what this is used for is, because our deck, as you'll see later, we do not play like Dark String Dragons to make it for the Soba scores with Fakiata over here. We really more consistent boosters to try end the game during personal right turns. Also, there's some nice plays with Lagrele and all that, where you can actually res them with Lagrele. Then when you resend a Grade 3 Bastion, probably Lagrele, these cards will actually resend alongside it and they get boost. So pretty nice place over here. Then of course, the 4 Lagrele, as I mentioned before, this is our main way to finish the game. And there's a lot of interesting plays you can do with it, as I'll get into in the blog post, which you will see probably linked below as well. But yeah, I'll get into some plays in this video as well. Then the staple cards, well, for Great Heavenly Sword Elden, our main draw engine, and usually your opponents are lower damage. Using this first instead of Lagrele is usually better. But yeah, when you're trying to end the game, maybe Lagrele is better. Regardless, it's still a strong 20k attacker during a Bastion turn, which is like, gets 2k, then attacks with 5k, we got 3 good 3 units. And of course, I mentioned before, our main draw engine. Then 4 of this card, which is Knight of Brodex Rough Loop. So what it does is, it puts itself to the soul to give a grade 3 Vanguard, get 10,000 power until the end of the turn. Yeah. So this card helps you push for good numbers even without a Dark Strain column, or like a reference boost, and also fuel soul for Chosen Knights. And the next card, which is Vanguard. So Vanguard, as I mentioned before, is our way for maintaining counterblast during this deck. As you can quickly see, we can run out counterblast really quickly with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just resolving 1 of each. There's 5 counterblasts. But if you counter charge 1, we can actually use like, or possibly another Lagrele, Elden, or Chosen Knights during the game. Also, as an AK booster, it also fuels a pretty good niche, I guess. The reason why we don't play Dark Strain in this deck is, of course, it's soul problem as well. Then, for grade 1s, of course, you play the 4 Sentinels, not much to see here. And for triggers, a rather simple lineup of 4 heals, 8 crits, because you want to crit opponents to death with Lagrele. This crit is rather interesting. You rarely resolve the skill anyway, so it's not a must. I just play because I have them, but you're really fine even with the regular 5k triggers. Then 3 draw triggers, because sometimes we need to discard further cards with Lagrele. And the early game draw, well, helps us meet the 4 Vanguard requirement if we do go for that play. Then, of course, our old trigger, Armadino, which gives the Vanguard stress rank. Then, right deck, well, it's just Bastion stuff. Not much to say. I'll say still go with this, don't go with Berserk, as Berserk requires a counterblast for the Twin Drive, and this card gets you, this right line gets you 2 cards overall, which helps you fuel your other skills. Now on to some key plays and some card discussions of what some cards we do not play in this version. So there's a lot of key plays I would like to discuss in this deck, but I'll only highlight a few right here. So the first one I'd like to highlight is having the counterblast open to use it like with 4 Vanguards on the field. So let's say it can be any 4 units. Let's see what we will call here, like maybe like referrals doesn't do much of a strike. Our critical triggers, cards like Rough Look, cards like Keter. These style cards, yeah. These style cards really don't do much on first strike. Especially if you're starting first, we actually can be comfortable building up more card advantage. I like to use this play to actually try and push game without overextending. So in this case, we use Lagrele as our first attack during turn. Attacks, counterblasting 2, we rest 4 units. So when this activates, since we rested 4, we will not have to discard a single card for Lagrele's battle. So Twin Drive. Okay, no trigger here. Then we keep both cards. Bastion can attack, Twin Drive. Okay, draw trigger, get power to Lagrele. Draw 1 card. Then Bastion can now discard 1. We send Lagrele and attack with power from Bastion and Lagrele, which is a total of 20k power. So this sort of plays, if we want to push for damage with critical trigger and build our hand back, is rather useful, as if we're not fighting a matchup which can retire our field, Refuels can do something, Keter can do something here. Like over here, we could actually Soul Blast 2 for the counter charge 1 for next turn, and Rough Look can put himself to the soul. So it's never too bad to call out these style cards. So as for like lower counterblast plays, like say we have the 3, we can actually do plays like Elden, counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1 to go into our Lagrele here, draw 2. Then we can still call cards like this, and you still go for plays like this. So we can go attack the Elden first, gets 5k from his own skill, making it 20. Attack with Bastion, Twin Drive, critical trigger. Okay, this is pretty nice. We can put all effects on the Elden over here, which makes it rather big and all that. Then Keter can activate, Soul Blasting 2, counter charge 1. Then we can use Bastion skill, discarding a card in hand, sending the Alden for crit. So this will actually get total of plus 25k, so this is 35k. Then Lagrele can attack, blasting 2, giving another Twin Drive. So by resting these 2, so we will -1, or we can push again. So Twin Drive, heal trigger, okay. Power to the Elden, heal, second check, then we discard 3. So personal right is good to keep, so maybe 1, 2 and 3 or something like that. That Elden can hit for a big number again. So this kind of like the extensions you can do with this deck. Of course this is string of Keter, but if you have full combos open anyway, you can go for such plays. Then for the last kind of application of Lagrele is, let's say you're like really behind, you're like you're barely surviving with any cards in hand. Maybe like you took so much damage and all this. Then draw, you personal right, draw 1, just call these guys. You can actually just go for broke with Lagrele right now. So your Lagrele can just attack now, blasting 2. You beat Twin Drive. I'll say do not rest anything. As we only rest 1, we discard 5 anyway, so why not just rest 0? So just a ruling here which I want you to keep in mind is that because of how Vanguard works, we must resolve the discard of Lagrele first before trying to resolve Bastion. So over here, we're actually betting on using Bastion right now to get a Grade 3 check. So we're using Lagrele skill, Twin Drive, heal trigger, Grade 3, yeah, we can power to say something here. Then we discard 2 cards. Then this is for Lagrele of course, then you leave the Bastion to swing. Then we can Twin Drive here. Okay, we got a Grade 3 goal, we are pretty lucky. Discard 1, we can resend Lagrele again. Then Lagrele can attack again, blasting 2. We can res 0, then we can perform another red check, like 1 over trigger. Okay, we got it, yeah, draw. Second check, then yeah, this was unscripted by the way. But anyway, we'll discard the 5, then this thing get attacked for game or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of creative plays you can do with Lagrele. As you can see, in most scenarios, if you have like that low on resources, the only way Bastion can come back is Lagrele. So that's why this card's really kind of useful to have in your deck. Even if you want to play a Dark Strain decks, I recommend getting at least a couple of them to try in the solutions. So if you'd like to see a deck variant or a deck profile for that particular list, my Dark Strain list or my personal list, do let me know down in the comments below and whatever deck profiles you want to see in set 3. Before we go, I'd like to review some of the tips again. Remember, if you do not have to go for Lagrele, do not use the skill carelessly, as this card is still a risk. If you hit 2 blanks, you might still lose the game, or all the momentum early game. So that's why always keep in mind Chosen Knights and Alden as a go-to Combat 3 play when you have to. Then again, for Lagrele, your rest targets optimally should be Referos, for what I mentioned before. Let's say we have Conblast there, and during a personal right turn, let's say personal right, this is personal right, imagine. So these cards have boost. You can actually Lagrele first, Conblast 2, rest both. Then we do a triple drive, Twin Drive, discard 3. Then if you resolve Bastion, these cards will all stand up together. So that's another tip you can keep in mind to try to push games without overcommitting. Then, as for the last tip, I would say is of course go through the 3 cards which I've discussed multiple times throughout this video, but as a reminder, so this build, as you can see, requires you to have full field for its max potential, besides the comeback factor with Lagrele, which is kind of trans-reliant as well. So yeah, in that aspect, this deck is big to field retire, as you're kind of betting it all on the turn 3 and turn 4 to end the game before that matters. So some cards you might consider instead of Referos if you feel this is not consistent enough is of course the classic Facade, which gives us our resist, which is a good body. You can leave it on the board anytime. And still a very strong turn 3 play with the Elden, Facade, typical pressure, counter charge, withstand, pressure, counter charge. Really strong card still. And a card definitely asks you to play around with. Then Darkstream Dragon, if you do not like Lepisto, you can try some hybrid with it, maybe. Then Kokabille, which was actually played early on before Format Chosen Knights was like solidified in this list. If you prefer some more shield value, and if you feel that Elden is enough for you. Yeah. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and I hope I taught you a lot about this version of Bastion, which I myself wasn't really comfortable playing until like 3 weeks into it. So yeah, if you're looking at deck for like Bro coming up and all this, yeah, do consider Lagrele Bastion, as it's really powerful. If you are willing to take a bit of a risk. Otherwise, just stay for Doctrine, and see you guys next time. Okay, bye bye.